Hi, I'm Aaron Heiser of Maker's Leather Supply, and this video we are going to talk about making a wallet out of our new acrylic template set for roper style wallets. In the acrylic template set that you will receive if you order one from makersleathersupply.com is 4 pieces. Okay, this one right here is the cash pocket. One of these will be cut out of 2 to 3 ounce leather. This is the credit card pocket right here. This is what we call the left side pocket right here, and then this is the outside perimeter of the entire wallet back. That would be either the tooled or the outside piece of leather. To make this wallet, you need a few tools of your own. If you're going to tool it, then of course, whatever you're going to use to do that. If you are not making a tooled wallet, you will need some sewing materials, whether it be whether you decide to hand sew it or use a machine. And then also you're going to need some ribbon or some TYVEK, and that's going to help you make up your credit card pockets. And then you're going to need some permanent double-sided tape. We have ours here in this little stitching pony. That we sell at makersleathersupply.com. We have a very, very good brand of that stuff. It's ridiculously sticky, and it is a permanent bond, and it's great stuff. I've made a lot of wallets out of these exact patterns, and when we got our laser, I decided to make these template sets so that other folks could make them too. I used to just, during our classes, I'd give people poster board patterns of these, and poster board doesn't last very long because you can't just cut out on the poster board. So, another very important thing, you need a scalpel. With this set was specifically made to use a scalpel and a small hole punch, which mine is over here. So, I'll show you how these are all used, but we're going to go ahead and cut out the pieces to this wallet. Now, this wallet, I have decided it will be an untooled version. I'm making it, this is Horween leather. I've never even worked with Horween, but man, this is some nice stuff. And anyway, so we're going to work with this Horween leather. Again, I'm going to cut an outside, a wallet back piece out of 4 to 5 ounce leather. And so that's what this piece is. It's 4 to 5 ounce right here. And I'm going to take my scalpel. I put the wallet back template on the leather, and I'm just going to cut around it. This is way easier than using a square and trying to measure it out, or maybe using a piece of poster board or something like that. I may need to change the blade in my scalpel. This thing's not cutting all the way through here. But anyway, this process with these templates is much easier than trying to measure these out yourself as you go. So they really do speed it up. When I made the acrylic templates to make sure they were right, I went ahead and made a wallet out of them. And it took me 35 minutes to make the entire wallet, start to finish. And that's pretty quick for a wallet that was handmade with the interior. Granted, it wasn't tooled or anything like that, but it was, it's a high quality wallet. I sold it for $150. I mean, not bad for 30-something minutes worth of work. All right, there we go. Got that cut out. So there it is. There's my wallet back. I'm going to set it over here to the side for now, as well as the template for it. And then this wallet, I'm going to line the inside of it. So we'll kind of talk about that. It's an option. You don't have to do it. But since I'm using this really nice, high-quality Horween leather, I decided that I should probably line it. And I'm also going to hand sew it as opposed to machine stitching. And, yeah, if you want to do some research on what a Horween wallet goes for, yeah, it's going to be worth a good amount. Okay, this is the left side pocket right here. And again, I'm just going to cut out a perimeter. That's all there is to it, is just cutting out a giant rectangle. I'm going to be really careful not to overdraw my cuts because I need to get both of these pieces out of this small piece of leather here. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this thing in half so that I don't accidentally screw up the other side of it. Okay, again, this piece is going to be out of 2 to 3 ounce leather. When you're cutting these out, you need to make sure that you always keep a firm hold on the template to make sure that it doesn't move on you. Once it moves, then you've got to reposition it and make sure that you're right back in the exact starting position so that you can have, you know, good square sides and edges, and your wallet will be made correctly and accurately. I'll tell you what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring the camera down a little bit. There we go. That's going to help the angle there. You don't need to see me. You do need to see what I'm doing. So there's my wallet back piece. I'm going to set it over here to the side and its template. I'll go ahead and cut out the cash pocket right quick. Cash pocket also is out of 2 to 3 ounce. Okay. So there goes that one. And now for the only one that you have to worry about more than just the perimeter cuts. Okay, this is the credit card pocket. I'm going to kind of look at my leather here and decide which way I want to cut this, and where the prettiest parts are and things like that. Yeah. Okay. So for this, I'm actually going to get my cutting board out here. And the first thing I'm going to, well, nope, I'm not yet. I'm sorry. The first thing I'm going to do is cut out the perimeter of this one, okay? And that way we can get rid of all of our scrap, and then we just have the card area to cut out. All right. Scrap up there. Okay, now I'm going to get my cutting board back out because I'm actually ready for it. And the next thing I'm going to do is punch my holes. Okay, what I have here is a number 8 Osborne punch. Okay, I'm not sure what that means as far as the actual size of it, and in inches, but it doesn't really matter. Basically, you need a hole punch that fits down inside of one of these holes, and that's it. It can be a little bit smaller, or it can just barely fit. It doesn't matter as long as it fits. Let me turn this thing sideways here, because I want you to be able to punch your holes through the template, and that'll make it a lot easier to line them all up. So there we are. Grab my maul here. All right, so I have now punched all of those holes. Now what I have to do is take my scalpel, and I'm going to run my scalpel through each of these cuts right here. Okay, and again, this pattern, this template was designed to be used with a scalpel. So that is just the exact right width that a scalpel blade will fit in there. And you can give it a nice pull. Now, there's a reason that these holes are at the ends of these cuts, and it's not something you can skip. Having these holes at the ends of these cuts actually keeps this leather from tearing over time when people stuff whatever they're going to in this wallet. I know a lot of people have a habit of carrying lots of cards and stuff like that in their wallet. This one has 6 different pockets, but I have made them for people and seen that they put 12 or more cards in the daggum thing. And so these keep that from splitting the leather and then ripping it out the side there. Okay, so there we have it. There's all of our cuts are done. Okay, now very important, on this template there's an area right here. It says do not cut out. Hard to see, sorry. Do not cut out. Okay, because under that it says to mark the tape lines, turn the leather over, place on the top of the rectangle at each cut line, and mark along the bottom of the rectangle. We will explain that. What that means is you're going to take your leather and, like it said, turn it over. Okay. Now, this rectangle is here to measure your card pockets. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is actually, even though it's the exact width of the card pockets, I'm going to offset it just a little bit over here to the right. Okay. And I'll show you why. It'll be important in a second. And I'm going to line up one of the long ends of this rectangle with the exactly at the cut for the bottom card pocket. And where did my pen go? There it is. Okay, and then I'm going to take a pen and I'm going to draw a line along the other side of it. Okay, then I'm going to move it up to the next one and I'm going to do it again. Then I'm going to move it to the next one. And guess what? I'm going to do it again. So there are 6 cuts, and there should be 6 lines drawn when you're done. Okay? I believe that was 4. Getting a little crooked there. 5. Then your 6th one is dadgum near at that that bottom cut there. It's real close to it actually. So 6. All right. So there's how it looks now. I have 6 cuts and 6 lines. Okay. Now, what we are going to do now is we are going to build the credit card pockets, okay? I love this method because it keeps the wallet really thin. There's not a ton of work and skiving and things like that involved. And when it's done, it looks very, very professional because on the outside of the pocket, all you see is this right here. It's clean. It doesn't have a ton of stitches in it. It doesn't have rivets. It doesn't have anything. It's just a nice, clean area, and you put your cards in it, and it works great. So you are going to need 13 pieces of tape, okay, double-sided tape. The stuff we sell is our double-sided sticky tape is 1/4 of an inch wide, okay, and each of your 13 pieces of tape need to be about the width of one of these cuts. All right, so I've already cut out my 13 because you don't want to sit here and watch me do that. And we're going to pre-place most of these pieces of tape, but there's a few that we can't place until we're actually working here. Okay, so we're going to put one between the top cut and the top of the wallet. Okay, I'm just going to put it up there. We're going to put 6 of them, one below each cut, right at, just as even with the bottom of that cut as we can, making sure not to, of course, overlap the cut, because then you're going to have a hard time getting a card into and out of the wallet. Okay, I need to open these cuts up a little bit. They're so fine, it's hard to see them. So again, I'm putting one piece of tape at the bottom of each cut. All right, now I'm going to take one more piece of tape and I'm going to put it at the very top of the bottom line. Okay, I've got my very bottom drawn line there, and I'm going to put this piece of tape just above it. Okay, so there's what we look like now. Okay, I'm going to take my TYVEK here. This is black TYVEK. It's pretty rare, and if you can find it, it's fairly expensive. Normally in classes and things like that, I use white TYVEK. It's very, very readily available. You can find it on Amazon or eBay, or heck, you can find it at Home Depot. They use it to wrap houses and things like that before they put the siding on, and it's like an extra layer of insulation. Also, Postal Service has bags that are made out of it, mail bags that you can use. And I've never done it, but I've always wanted to make a wallet that on the inside of the card pocket said priority mail. I just thought that'd be cool. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to take the paper backing off of this very, very bottom cut line piece of tape. Okay? And we're going to take our TYVEK and we're just going to lay it across it, making sure that it runs straight up and down with all these cuts and parallel with the sides of this piece of leather. Okay? If you get this thing off track, then it can, when you start folding it back and forth, it can go one way or the other, and you don't want that. So, there we go. All right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it back down against that tape. Again, it's going to be just below that card pocket line, or that cut. Okay? And I'm going to make a crease right there. And this is beginning the very first card pocket. Now, I'm going to fold it back up after I've got my crease so I can take the piece of tape or paper off the back of the tape there. Okay? Then I'm going to pull it down. I'm going to pull it not tight, but I'm going to make sure it doesn't have any wrinkles in it. And I'm going to tape it down right there at that bottom piece. Now, the reason we offset that acrylic template a little bit to the side is so that I can still see where my marks are for other layers. Okay? And if you lost those, that's okay. You can always put that little template back up there and remark them on the back of your TYVEK or your ribbon or whatever you're using for your cards. Okay, so I'm folding it back up again, and I'm creating another crease. Once I've done that, I'm going to take the tape off of the very second piece, or the very second cut, and we're going to go ahead and lay it right across. Okay. Now, once I've done that, I need to come over here to my tape. I need to get another piece, and I need to put it just above where that second mark is going to be. So right there. And that's going to start forming the second pocket. Okay. So I'll pull my paper back down and form my crease. And then when I go back up with it, I'll go ahead and take this backing off this tape. And I'm going to pull it down. There it is. Now we have two card pockets. Okay. Now again, I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to crease it right even with that line. I'll go up here to my third cut line, and I'll remove the paper. Lay my TYVEK across it, create another crease, and there we go. This is way faster than individually cutting out card pockets out of different pieces of leather and skiving them down and doing all that. And it creates a thinner wallet. So, yeah, I can build 3 or 4 of these in the time that somebody can probably build one of of another style where you would have to cut out each individual piece and card pocket. So we're just going to keep doing that same repetition as we continue up, this is the third card pocket being completed right here. Fold it forward and create the crease. Remove the tape. Lay it across the tape on the cut. And then we'll fold it back down again. Create a crease. There are written instructions that came with your wallet templates, but this is a very hard process to describe in writing. I did an article for the Leather Crafters Journal making a passport wallet, and the card pockets in it were the exact same as these, except for the cards were laying sideways like a billfold style. And yeah, I scratched my head for a couple of days trying to figure out how in the world to describe this process, because it's very, very hard without being able to show someone. All right, 4 card pockets are done. We're going to create another crease here and go back up with it. This piece of TYVEK is really, really long. I cut a whole roll of it into the width of strips that I would need to make my wallets, but I want to say 40 inches is a very, very safe number to use to make sure that you have plenty of TYVEK that's going to run the length of your wallet project. I say TYVEK, it could be ribbon. The really cool thing about ribbon is that you can get different colors. And I just kind of misplaced that tape. Let's see if we can pull that back off. Whew, thank gosh. Glad I didn't push that down. All right. So anyway, again, ribbon you can get in all kinds of different colors and widths and things like that. My issue with ribbon is it's kind of thick. And I know you're thinking, well, Aaron, ribbon's not that thick. Well, you got to think about, in the middle of this wallet is 12 layers of this TYVEK. And those 12 layers are going to be less than a 1/16 of an inch thick. If you're using ribbon, depending on the thickness of the ribbon, of course, I mean, I've seen some of these things get really, really thick. And then you got to think that now you're going to shove cards in there too. And that's going to overall make a very thick wallet. And anybody that sits down a lot on a wallet knows that if it's too thick, it just stinks. All right, we are almost done here. I got one more card pocket to form, and then we'll finish it off. So I did my crease. I'm going to take my piece of tape from that very top cut line. Lay it across the line. Fold it back, create my crease, and then I'll place my very last piece of tape. It's a little bit long. Let me trim it down real quick. It's the same length as all the other pieces of tape. I just accidentally cut this one too long. So yeah, there's no requirement for this piece to be any different length. Okay. In the home stretch now. So we are going to lay it back down across that bottom piece there. All right, and then this very top piece of tape here is just what's going to finalize the running of the ribbon or TYVEK and give it a place to end. So there we have it. It is now done as far as all the card pocket creation there. I'm going to take my scissors and just trim off my TYVEK. And there it is. We now have 6 credit card pockets individually made. Grab an ID here, and I'll show you how that works. So the card goes in, And there it is. It lines up perfectly with the next pocket top. And there you can see how it is in the back. Yeah, it's an awesome way to make a wallet. And again, it's quick, it's easy, and it makes a very professional result. So, okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start sewing because it's already time for that. So we have two pieces that need to be sewn before the wallet is put together. Okay, and what we need to do is we need to fold them in half and make sure that their ends match up very, very well. Okay, and kind of crease it down with our fingers. Get it good and creased. And then we are going to either glue, or you can use the double-sided tape, this thing closed, okay? On this one, I recommend using the double-sided tape because you can keep it out of the card pockets and it won't seep into your TYVEK and stuff like that. And so it just, there's less risk involved in doing the double-sided tape than if you tried to glue this. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut out a couple of pieces here. I want to be careful not to get the double-sided tape into the TYVEK, but I also don't want it protruding from the edge, just for the cleaner appearance of the finished product. Okay. Now I'm going to fold this over, line up these edges really good again. And I'm going to go ahead and press that down. And there we go. This one's going to be ready to sew. So where we're going to sew is we're going to sew right down this edge right here. Okay, and that'll give it, again, that'll give it a very professional looking result. It'll be a very crisp edge, you know, and it's going to be nice. So this one I'm actually going to glue because I want the entire thing as flat as possible, and I don't want it to be, I want it to be very rigid, okay, and that's going to help with my sewing, especially if I was going to machine sew. It would make this one solid piece and not, you know, a floppy piece there. So I'm going to go ahead and get out some paper here so that I can do some gluing. Okay, and while I'm at it, I'm also going to glue, I told you we were going to talk about it some, but I'm going to glue my liner into the wallet back. Okay, so this is my liner for my wallet back. I actually took the exact same Horween. I ran it through the splitter. I mean, this is dang near paper thin. And I'm going to take my wallet back and glue those two pieces together. And then I'll glue this piece to itself. All right. I will start out spreading some glue on here on video, and then I'm actually going to pause the video so you don't have to watch me spread glue for the next 15 minutes. And then when I come back, it'll be ready to put together, and I'll show you that next step. So, got some of our contact cement in this jar. The one with the lid glued shut, apparently. And I am just going to slather this stuff all over because it does not matter. I want it everywhere. Sometimes when I'm doing a big project, I'll even take the jar and just pour and then spread it out with a brush. The reason that you want to use a good contact cement for this is when you have your finished wallet and you're ready to fold it closed, it will keep the bubbling of the inside of the seam where it's folded. It'll keep that down to a minimum. Okay, it won't totally do without, but it will. It'll keep it down to where it doesn't have a lot of bubbles and wrinkles and things like that in it. And so again, it just has a more professional result. That's what we're all here to do, is to try to make every project better than the last. I'm going to set that aside. Contact cement needs just a couple of minutes to set up. If you've never used contact cement, I highly recommend getting some. It is an amazing product because, again, you can make 2 pieces of leather into one. And, I mean, there's plenty of folks out there making things that are lined and stuff. They don't even have to stitch it. If you've got a good, solid coat of contact cement on something, it can take the place of stitches on some things. Me personally, when I make my double-sided key fobs, a lot of the time they're just contact cemented closed and not stitched, and it just has a real clean appearance to it. It gives you more room for tooling if you don't have to worry about a border for stitching. All right. I'm going to fold this piece of paper over a little bit so I'm not laying my finished part of the next piece on glue. I usually start out with a huge piece of paper and end up with a very tiny one. And again, when you're doing this, make sure you get this the glue all the way out to the edges, because it's going to hold your entire project together better. It's going to cause, when you go to burnish your edges, they're going to look a lot tighter and nicer. They're not going to have gaps in them and things like that, because this stuff will literally take 2 pieces of leather and make it one. I say literally, it's not that literal. But anyway. All right, I said I was going to pause the video. I guess I lied. The entire thing is now glued, but I am going to pause it for a second and let this glue set up, and then I'll turn it back on, and we'll be right back at it in just a second. All right, so we gave it a couple of seconds to let the glue set up here. This contact cement, and now we're going to take and fold these pieces in half, or well, we're going to fold the left pocket, we're going to fold it in half. To do that, I'm just going to match up the corners here and press them together, and then I'll worry about the rest of it, because the sad thing with contact cement, it's amazing, it's really sticky, and it'll make sure that your stuff is stuck together forever, but that also means it's a little bit unforgiving, and it doesn't like to let you reposition it very much. But there it is, right there. I have my little handy dandy roller here. Roll that seam down real nice. And again, I'm going to hand stitch this wallet because it's going to look great. It's going to be an amazing wallet. I'm using my tiger thread to do it. Still trying to decide if I want to stitch on camera or not, just because I don't want this video to be 3 days long. But there it is right there. There's that piece. Now, get that off there. Again, I made a liner for the wallet back, since this is a Horween piece that is not tooled. I made a liner for it. I need to orient. Okay, so there's the top. Sorry, I needed to figure out which side was the top and which side was the bottom. One more time. This wallet template, this is the top, and then down here where my logo is in the bottom. So I just needed to orient it. Make sure I've got this piece of leather oriented correctly as well so that I can lay it down. Some of that extra glue off there. All right, I'll use my handy roller again. Sorry that it squeaks, folks. I've had it about 15 years, and yeah, maybe it could use some WD-40 or something. All right, I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to rub all that glue and contact cement down good, and then I'm going to roll the hell out of this side too. And again, the reason we're using this contact cement is so that when I fold it, it won't have huge creases in it, or it won't have huge bubbles in the crease. And so that's what it is. All right, I'm going to, for ease and simplicity, I'm going to put my template back on here so that I can go ahead and trim my liner down to match the finished piece. Okay, so here we are right here. Last cut. And there it is. All right, so now I have my wallet back. This one is lined. You don't have to line yours. It doesn't have to be a lined product. I wanted to do it with mine because I wanted it with this really nice leather and it not being tooled. I wanted it to be as nice of a wallet as I could get. And so, yeah. All right, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to use my stitch groover, and I'm going to mark my stitch lines, okay? Get these kind of close to the edge here. All right. So I'm going to mark my stitch lines, and I'm going to go ahead and groove them out so that I can have pretty stitches. I'm doing this really slow because the stitch groover is an unforgiving tool. All right, and then I will run my overstitch wheel along the grooves. This is a number 6 overstitch wheel, meaning it's 6 stitches per inch. I really like 6. It's much more attractive stitch to me than 5, but yet less stitches than 7. So there's that one. Okay, I'm going to prep one of these 4 stitches on the camera as far as using my awl and going ahead and making my holes. And then I'm going to pause the camera because you don't want to sit there and watch me stitch this thing. It's going to take a while. So, a high quality awl is a very, very good thing to have if you're going to hand sew anything. The blade is very, very important because you want one that matches your thread, your stitches per inch, things like that. I have a very small blade here. This is a size 0 Berry King blade, and it's in a Berry King awl handle. This is one of his large ones. I like this one because it's got a flat side to it, so it doesn't roll off of my bench. Also, the flat-sided ones, I kind of orientate my blade inside the flat-sided ones to where I know if that flat part of that handle is up against the palm of my hand, then I know that the blade is orientated the right way for my stitches. So again, I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to keep doing this, and when you come back, this line and this line will both be sewn. So give me a few minutes here. All right, so while I pause the video, I sewed this seam right here and this seam right here. I hand stitched each of them. So what we're going to do now is the actual final construction of just putting the wallet together. To do that, how it's going to be is that the card pocket is over here on the right side, even just like that. And the left pocket is going to be right over here. And then the cash pocket sits on top of the left pocket, just like that. Okay. So what we're going to do is get a little bit of glue on the edges of each of these, and we're going to glue them all into place so that we can go ahead and do our final assembly and stitching. On my glue jar, I've actually taken and trimmed down the brush considerably so that I can do applications like this and just get right along the edge of a piece of leather without making too many mistakes or getting it too far out there. On the card pocket, we're just going to do the L shape of the outside of it. We're not going to do the side with the rounded corner, either of the two sides with the rounded corner. Now on the left pocket and the credit card pocket here, we're only doing, there it is, we're only doing 3 sides of it because that is actually going to be a big pocket that runs all the way down the wallet as kind of like a receipts, or it could even hold a checkbook. It's the right size that you could put a checkbook in this wallet, but that does make it pretty thick. All right. And then on this one, I am going to, you know, when you use contact cement, you have to do both sides of what you're doing. So what I'm going to do here, though, is I'm going to lay that up against it so I can see how far out the contact cement goes. It's not going to go all the way across that gap because those 2 pockets leave a space in between for the fold. So I'll just put a little drop of glue right there so I know where that's going to end. Got a drop. And then the same thing over here. go. Now I know where my glue margins are, and I can move this out of the way, and I can glue around these edges here. I left a pretty good border for sewing. I prefer to have a nice wide border for sewing and then be able to trim the entire wallet down afterward. You got to keep that in mind when you're doing your tooling pattern and stuff, because whatever your tooling is, that will limit how much of a border you can have. Get this glue jar out of the way, sorry about that. Normally when we're doing these videos, it's the live Monday night videos on our Facebook and Instagram, and Janie is running all the cameras and the computers and everything, so I don't ever have to look up and see if I'm actually in frame, because she keeps me there. Just like in general life, she kind of keeps me in line. Somebody's got to. All right, so we're going to let that set up for just a second there. And then we'll place these pieces together. And just like when we did the other gluing, we're going to be very, very careful as we put these pieces together, because we want them to be as precisely placed as they can be, because all of these measurements, or all these pieces, are supposed to fit together just perfectly. All right, I went ahead and put this one first because I actually need to put a little bit more glue on it for the cash pocket to be on the outside of the corner of it. Just like that. So I'll let that glue set up right quick while I put the card pocket onto the wallet. Okay. So there we have it. This is ready to sew around the entire perimeter of the outside. Since I'm hand sewing, I can actually do the entire perimeter. If I was machine sewing, I might stop in between these areas, or I might even just hand sew that area to join those if I wanted to have that continuous stitch all the way around the outside. Reason being is because some machines can, it's a trick. There's lots of folks that can do it, but sometimes you'll have a little bit of a difficulty jumping across that with your sewing machine. And with this being a nice Horween wallet and me doing the hand sewing, I'm not going to have that issue. But yeah, a lot of the time I will actually, I'll sew this half and then I'll sew this half, and then I will actually hand sew across the gap and join the two. And none the wiser. Nobody can really tell, but they could definitely tell if I tried to just sew all the way across that gap right there, and it would not be pretty. So I like pretty stitching. All right, so once again, I'm going to pause the video because I'm going to sit down and hand sew this entire outside seam, and when I come back, we'll talk about just finishing it off and edge burnishing. All right, folks, so I have hand sewn the entire perimeter of the wallet. All of my stitching is now complete. There it is right there. I'm trying to get it with the lights not in it. I still have to burn off the little ends of the threads there. And then I took it over to the sander right quick, and I just went ahead and sanded all of my edges nice and smooth and flat so that I could burnish them. So here we are. Now I'm going to take my edge bevelers and I'm going to burnish, or I'm going to cut the edges here and bevel them, and that'll make it to where the nice finished product. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take a scalpel here and I'm just going to barely corner these corners. Just to where they're not squared off and, you know, like at a sharp point type thing, because that's a wear point when you have one that's kind of sharp like that. So I'm just kind of 45-degree in it here. Not too much at all. All right. Throw those in the trash. All right. So I'm going to take, this is a number, let's start with a number 2. You can always go bigger. You can never go smaller. This is a number 2 Ron's Edger right here. And I'm just going to go and take the corner right off with those straight lines. Like that. I'm glad I used the 2 because that's a great size for that one. I'm going to do the 2 long sides of the wallet first. And then I'll go back and I'll do the short sides, being very careful of that spot where the gap is in between the 2 panels on the inside. Because that's where, when you're going along and edge beveling something, you can just kind of go down and gouge that accidentally. So you got to be careful and be cognizant of where that is. So here I am coming to it, so I'm going to lighten the pressure, so I just go right across that gap. And there you go. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. There's the gap, so I'll go easy on it. And straight across. Like it was meant to be. All right, now I'm going to do the insides. There's those. I'm going to use a little Montana edger on that little gap right there because that's a considerably thinner piece of leather. And I don't want to gouge it out. The Montana edgers are also made by Ron's Tool Company. They're just designed for a little bit thinner leather, and so they work out well. All right. There we go, right there. I have, again, I've never done anything with Horween leather, so I'm actually going to have to experiment on a little scrap right quick about burnishing this stuff to make sure that my normal burnishing methods work. I should have done that before I turned the camera back on, but I didn't. So I'm going to pause this right quick so that I can do that, and then I'll be right back on. Okay, sorry about that brief pause. Yeah, my normal method of dyeing edges didn't really work too well on this, but, or not dyeing, but burnishing edges. So instead, we're going to use this glycerin saddle soap right here. It's Phoebe's brand. You can get it all kinds of places. One of them is just Tractor Supply Company, or anybody that sells tack or equipment for tack, stuff like that. So anyway, but just rubbing it on the edge makes a real nice burnish. Look at that right there. It works as its own burnisher. Because the bar is rigid, so you just rub it on. It does help if your edges are a little bit wet. So there you have it, folks. Next thing I'm going to do is I will end up folding this wallet in half, just like when it's closed. And I'm going to put it under a granite rock overnight so that it takes that shape. And then it's going to be a wallet that lasts somebody for 20, 30 years probably. There it is. Made with our wallet templates. If I sat down, even hand sewing, and did this wallet all the way through, I could complete it in about an hour and a half. So there you go. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Again, the wallet templates and just about every product I showed on the video here is available at makersleathersupply.com, or you could always come see us in our shop anytime. Thanks. Have a great day.